Okay, so we're sitting out here on the first day of fall. I'm sitting here with Tye Ravens, and we're sitting in the backyard. And Tye and I knew each other. We met at Bayard, Denver Day Works. Worked together for a while, and then didn't work. We were both there, but we weren't working together. And we've
Yep.
run into each other off and on through the last few years. He's somebody I've gotten to love and respect. And tell us something about yourself, Tye.
Well, the love and respect is mutual, first of all, Arnie, and happy autumn equinox. Um, yeah, about me. Yeah, we met at Bea, working at Denver Day Works together. We set up Peoria Works basically together, which was a longer term site. So Arnie would go out, get in the muck with folks, and get some folks some paychecks and some friendship and some bonding, and kind of get help folks get themselves back on their feet. And we did that together for maybe a year and a half, a little
Yeah.
over a year, something like that. And then now I'm working doing a rapid rehousing program with Jewish Family Service. So I moved on from Bayard, but still trying to do something, I guess. Not quite sure what yet, but I'm still trying to do something to help.
So, you worked at Urban Peak, is that right?
Yeah.
And Bayard, and now you're with Jewish Family
Yeah.
Services. Why do you do that kind
Why?
of work? I mean,
Why do? Why do I do it? Well, actually, so I moved. I had worked doing intakes at what's called it's called at the time it was called Central Arizona Shelter Services. You can kind of understand it as like the Denver Rescue Mission of Phoenix, basically, in terms of like size and scope. Um, and I'd done that for about a year before I came out to Denver for grad school, actually, and I majored in international human rights for my master's with the idea of like doing some sort of like international humanitarian work, like maybe refugee camps or something like that. But was working at Urban Peak during in the evenings during grad school, and I don't know, I just couldn't leave. Like there's too many human rights issues going on right here in our own backyard, right here in Denver, and it didn't make sense. Didn't seem fair to leave until I'd worked on that for a while, and then just kind of fell in love with the work from there. Yeah.
well, and I know from experience that this work is full of pain and beauty also. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's a really good way to put it. There's some really really tough days. I mean, I think both together and separately, and you certainly more so than me. I've seen some tough stories, but we've also seen like a lot of stories of recovery, and like if you give folks the tools, like most folks want to get, like, no one wants to be homeless really, or a few, there might be a few who just prefer that lifestyle, but really you just need to give folks a few tools and you'd be surprised what they can do on their own. And I think um, that's where I find the beauty, and you gotta sort of like stock up on those emotions when you have good days so that you can be okay for the not so good days. It's kind of a roller coaster though. Yeah, you gotta try to find a balance so that the good days and the bad days you can kind of just make it through them all, and be balanced outside of that. um, I don't know that I'm there yet, but I think that's the goal. I think that's what we're trying to do in
Yeah,
this work anyway.
yeah. It kind of reminds me what you were saying is this is attributed to Utah Phillips, but he said, "How many chances do you give somebody?" And the answer is as many as it takes, as many as they need. You know,
Yeah, yeah. I agree. It gets, and it gets frustrating because a lot of the systems we have to work through don't give people as many chances as they need. So I think that's more so than any individual, like, tough experience or crisis situation in a given day. I think that's the tougher part, is just, I think we all want to give that many chances, but just, like, are we empowered to?
Yeah. And
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
yeah, I mean, it's easy when you see somebody make a mistake to just, okay, you screwed up and turn your back on them. That's very easy to do because they've given you an excuse.
Mm-hmm. Um, but yeah, if you made a mistake, you wouldn't want the world to turn its back on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're all humans, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you're from Tucson,
Yeah.
Phoenix?
I'm from Tucson, and then um, lived in Phoenix a while too. So I usually just say Arizona. Yeah. But yeah,
And
Tucson
where did you
originally.
go to school?
I went to school um, in like for high school. I was in Phoenix, and then went to college in Phoenix too, at Arizona State, um, because basically Arizona's so desperate to keep its own students in its own colleges, they'll pretty much pay for you to do it. So I just just stayed there.
Well, cool. But they
Yeah,
lost you anyway.
they lost me. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I went to Arizona State. Majored and minored in two majors, two minors. None of them am I actually doing, so not how much I learned there. But um, yeah, it was nice to go to school like with a lot of my friends and close to family. I'm glad I made that decision.
And
Yeah.
what brought you to Denver?
Yeah, I went to University of Denver for graduate school after Peace Corps, and I was really just coming here for school because the school had the program I wanted. You'd be probably not surprised that there's not a ton of human rights programs to go to. I think there's one at University of Denver, which I think is just a minor now, unfortunately. But and then one in New York, and that's it.
Wow.
So in the States anyway. So that may have changed in the past few years. Don't quote me too much on that. But when I was looking, there was only two programs. So I came out here for that and was not, planning to go live abroad after. I wasn't planning to stay, but I just I really like the outdoors. I made some friends here, met my partner here, and just yeah,
And the
yeah.
Peace Corps died. Tell us that story. How'd you end up there? Where did you do? What did you do?
I ended up in the Peace Corps because none of my none of my stuff from school was working out after several months. So I was trying to do freelance journalism because that was one of my majors, and not a lot of money in that, especially in not a news hub like Phoenix, So I was really just kind of skating by, and so Peace Corps just seemed like a fun opportunity to go live in another country for a couple of years and honestly give myself a couple of years to figure it out. I think that's for all the kind of like pomp and circumstance that's around the Peace Corps. I think that's why a lot of people do it. It's
Sure,
just
sure. Young people just getting out of school and trying to figure out what's next. Right?
yeah, that's exactly why I did it. Is because it was like a chance. It gave me that time to figure things out because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I still thought maybe journalism, but something felt wrong about it. And in Peace Corps, I kind of realized that, the kinds of like social issues I was trying to write about, I wanted to be a part of working on them. I didn't just I cared about them, so I thought writing was the way to do that. But really, I wanted to do the work. So I'm grateful for the time in Peace Corps for that to have figured that out, come back and make that still doing it now. So I guess it worked.
And then where did you end up?
I was in northwest China, a province called Gansu Province, which is I think it is the poorest province in China, but that's kind of not how it felt while I was there. It felt very rich in other area, like very rich culturally. It was like the town I was living in for those 2 years was like on this former Silk Road, had a lot of history, um, met a lot of great people. Um, I don't think I was a very good English teacher, but that's um, that was the job technically. But I don't think that, like we were just talking about, I don't think that's why most people were actually there. Uh, but it was cool. Yeah, yeah. My site mate and I were the only two folks from outside the country in the town, and the site only lasted 3 years, so we were only two of six people that ever went there. So in that sense, it feels like kind of a special experience. There's a lot of it was a mixed experience overall, I would say, but it gave me the time to figure things out. It gave me a couple years to travel and backpack and kind of live that lifestyle when I was young enough to to have the energy for it.
So you were in the Peace Corps and backpacking around China.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm glad I did it then and not now. I don't think I could do it anymore. But
Why is that?
just all the with traveling abroad and backpacking, it's tiring,
Yeah.
and you need like a good immune system and stuff for it. Like 20-30 hour train rides because you can't afford anything faster to get from place to place. It's kind of brutal on your body, so I don't know if I couldn't do it anymore, but I genuinely don't want to to do that again. I got it out of my system.
It kind of reminds me, just oftentimes in my life, like I've been in a situation where I'm supposed to be like instructing somebody or teaching something or something like that, and actually I end up learning. And it's very humbling. And yeah, am I putting that in the right context?
For sure, yeah. I would, yeah, I was sent over there to teach, and I think I learned more than I taught, for sure. Um, I'd be curious to hear, like, what an example of that is for you in your own life. I know you're supposed to be the one interviewing, but I just learn a lot from you whenever we're talking, so I would love to hear.
Just being with people as, I was a site supervisor. That was my title at Denver Day Works, and I'd
Sure.
be like supposed to be showing people how to do things, and let's go here and we're gonna do this, and people would like show me a better way to do it, and or just give me advice on my own life when I was supposed to be in the mentor, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes just by example, not so much in words, but just by example.
You had some pretty special folks come through that crew too.
Yeah,
I can think of a few off the top of my head who were not shy to give advice. So that's cool. Well, I felt that way at Denver Day Works too. Like I was supposed to be like your program manager, but I felt like you were mentoring me a lot of the time, like how you worked with people, how you led that site, how you worked with the rest of our team. You just had so much more experience than me. I was pretty green still, to be honest. I was like a year out of grad school when they gave me that job. I have no idea why.
Todd, I hope you know I was faking it the whole time. So
Me too.
Yeah. And now you're here in Denver, right? And then you're in a long-term relationship.
Yep. Yeah, we're in Golden. We live in Golden, but we both work in Denver still. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you want to say anything about that, or?
No, just I don't know. My partner's really special, and we were
What's it mean to you, though? How does it improve your life?
in so many ways. I think Um, before meeting my partner, I think I was, how do I put it? I prided myself very much on being like independent and self-sufficient. Um, and I think there is like some toxic, like there's good things about those are good traits, right? But to like make that sort of your identity can be a little toxic too. That like you don't need anyone but yourself. That's not true. Everyone needs their community. That's no one's an island.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of, I was close with my family and I had friends. It wasn't that. It's just I think, I like lived alone. I didn't think I needed anybody else. And my partner was he's also a very independent person, and I think for hopefully for her too, but for me, to sort of share the journey and open that up, and it's powerful. Like that level of love is powerful. It makes you care more about what you're doing and why, and you like have a reason to get up every morning and someone to get up with. It's really been life changing, and I didn't really think it was for me. Like we both met when we were like 30. Like we neither one of us had really ventured too much into the long term relationship realm. So to meet at that, a bit later too, and to still find that level of love, I think has been really
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, there's something to be said about the maturity. Um, you, when you're young, it's you're immature and not sure what you want or whatever. I mean, I think it just helps
I
because
I think no, I think you're right. I think I was not mature enough until my 30s for this kind of relationship, which is maybe a bit of arrested development, but I'm glad I got there. Yeah.
I just say that because Rolina and I met in my 30s, early 30s, so I can kind of relate to what you're saying.
Takes a couple of us guys a little longer, I guess, but
Yeah.
that's all right.
um,
Maybe we're more mature when we get there that way.
yeah,
We can hope.
we're slow learners, maybe.
Slow learners. I think
um,
so.
so, if you could give any advice to a younger Tye, what would you tell him?
um, to a younger Tye, I would have told him to not start smoking cigarettes in the Peace Corps, probably. Said that was kind of a mixed bag, and that's part of it, just like I don't know. That's tough. That question of like giving advice to your past self, like it gets a little. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Oh yeah.
It gets a little mindfucky, to like to what would you say to yourself in the past, because sort of like that time travel question, like if I'd given myself, like if I'd learned that certain things that easy by just getting the advice and not having to learn it the hard way, like would I still be where I am today?
Yeah.
Like um yeah, I don't even know what I would say, because that would change who I am now if I knew things back then that I know now. Um, but I think like to love myself a little more, especially like early, like 18, 19 years old. I was pretty like emo, and like had that whole look, and like was pretty hard on myself and pretty self-deprecating. Um, like to like definitely to a fault. And so I guess that would be the time, if I could go back to a time to talk to myself, I'd go back to like 18, 19 years old and just see if I could have shaken that loose a little quicker and just got myself to love myself a little faster. But yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
How about you?
Um, shoot, I agree with what you're saying about I wouldn't want to change anything.
Oh, there go the dogs.
But I'd just tell myself to be kind to myself and kind to others. Just, and that would probably be about it. I wouldn't tell myself don't do that, because you do learn from your mistakes, and it does shape you.
Back then, I probably had done it anyway too. If I told myself not to do it, so
I would have told myself, "Don't tell me what to do."
Right, exactly. Exactly.
What gives you hope, Tye? I mean, this world is hard.
It is. Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that aren't looking so good. What gives you hope? What keeps you going?
We talked some about my relationship with my partner. I think that gives me a lot of hope. And just the people around me. I think actually, it's funny with this kind of work, social work, or I guess homelessness prevention, you might call, I don't know how much I love that term, but with this kind of work, I actually feel more hopeful for doing that than for just seeing things from the outside or reading things in the news. I think you can get really pessimistic if you're just like reading the news and don't feel like there's anything you can do, but the more you kind of get in there and do stuff, like I think the more, at least for me, the more optimistic I feel, because I can, I see a lot of other people doing the same things. So you're then surrounded by people who are trying to make a difference too. I think I kind of have to be in that kind of space to have the hope, maybe, but because I am, it gives me a lot of hope. And these two cute dogs that are around me right now, giving me hope. Getting out in nature for sure, like hiking or snowshoeing or camping, things like that. It's kind of like, oh, we're not that. It's almost liberating to realize you're not that important. Nature's a lot bigger than you and your problems. So, I don't know if that's hope or just liberating to kind of get your anxieties away, but definitely getting out in nature helps too.
I agree. Yeah.
Kind of feels good to not be important. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like what in the grand scheme of things, we're not important, but at the same time, every little thing matters very much. It's
true. Yeah.
It's a real fact of nature, I think. Everything affects everything. Every little tiny piece affects every other tiny piece, which affects the whole world, the whole universe.
I completely agree, Arnie, and that's a good. Thanks for catching me on that. I hope it wasn't sounding like I was, I meant more like each of us is no more important than any other person or any other piece is more what I meant. So thanks for reframing that for me. It's not that we're not important. We're all just as important as each other and everything else.
Yeah, I think I understood that you were saying that. Yeah. Well, Tye, let's leave it there unless do you have anything else you wanted to share?
No, just I've listened to a few others in your series here. I think you're talking to some really cool people. I'm not sure why I'm in the mix still, but I really appreciate just the chance to hang out with you in the backyard with our pups. And I meant it when I said while we were at Denver Dayworks together, I really felt like you mentored me a lot more than I ever supervised you, and I feel like I've learned a lot from you over the years, including chatting now today, so I just appreciate that, man.
Well, I appreciate that, Ty, and it goes both ways. I've learned a lot from you too, and I love you, and thanks for spending some time with me.
Love and respect. Let's see whose hair can get the longest here. I think we're in a race right now.
That was great, Ty.
Thank you. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, me too.
The audio